Okay guys, your flip video for today is about adding and subtracting fractions. And I know this seems like a little elementary school, but I need you to have this kind of mindset when you come to class tomorrow, okay? So if we have a problem like this, 3/7 plus 2/7, what do we need in order to add or subtract fractions? It's going to be one of the biggest deals that we have to deal with tomorrow. What do we need in order to add or subtract fractions? Well, we need a common denominator. In this case, we have a common denominator, but they're both 7. Once we have a common denominator, we add the numerators, 3 plus 2, 5, and we keep the denominator. And then we're done. Okay? What about subtracting fractions? Is there any difference there? Well, we are subtracting, that's the main difference, but other than that, we have to have a common denominator, and then we do what it says. We already have a common denominator in this case, 11s, so we keep that denominator, and we do what it says. Subtract the numerators, 8 minus 3, which is 5. Okay? So what happens if we don't have a common denominator? Well, we have to get a common denominator. Okay? Between these two numbers, we need the least common denominator. We need the smallest number that both of these two numbers divide into evenly. And the smallest number that both of these two numbers divide into evenly is 8. Right? 8 divides into 8 one time, 4 divides into 8 two times. Right? So my common denominator is 8. What was this denominator before? Well, it was an 8. So that means the denominator is not changing, so the numerator is not changing. Okay? What was this denominator before? It was a 4. How do you get from 4 to 8? Well, there's several different ways, but the way we need to do is a multiple. In this case, we're going to multiply by 2. And if I multiply the denominator by 2, I have to multiply the numerator by 2. So multiplying the denominator by 2 gets me 8, that common denominator that I need. Multiplying the numerator by 2 gets me a 2. Once I have a common denominator, I do just like I did up on the top. I keep the denominator and I add the numerators because it tells me right here I have to add. Okay? Last one. 3/7 plus 2/5. Well, what do you think I'm going to do here? I have to find a least common denominator, right? Okay? So what is the smallest number that both of these two numbers divide into evenly? The common denominator is not going to be any smaller than the biggest number that's there. Okay? Some of you, I bet, might have thought the common denominator here was 4, right? Because 4 divides into 8 and 4 divides into 4. But that's not what we're thinking. We need to think of numbers that these two numbers can divide into. Okay? So if we're talking about 7 and 5, what number will both of these numbers divide into? Well, that number is 35. Okay? How did I get from 7 to 35? Well, I multiplied by 5. If I multiply the denominator by 5, I have to multiply the numerator by 5. That gives me a 15. How did I get from 5 to 35? Well, multiply by 7. If I multiply the denominator by 7, I have to multiply the numerator by 7. And that gives me 14. 15 plus 14 is 29. And then I keep my common denominator. Okay? So the biggest thing that I need you to get out of this video today is when you add or subtract fractions, you need a common denominator. Okay? You need a common denominator. Please go fill out your WISC, and I will see you tomorrow.